What is good, Tesla family? It's Ray J back with another video, and in this one, I'm going to be talking about the one and only Tesla stock and what you should be looking out for the future. I'm also going to do some in-depth technical analysis and give you guys my price prediction for tomorrow based off the charts are showing and based off the data is suggesting for Tesla stock. I'm also going to talk about the overall market and how this may affect Tesla and what you should be watching for the near term, as we have some very important data coming out in a couple of days that will affect Tesla, and also some very important factors that will affect the market and Tesla as well going forward. Now, before I break anything down about all these factors, before I talk about the data, what you should be watching for on the charts for Tesla, I do have to mention a couple of things before starting. Firstly, I'm not a financial planner. Take none of this as financial advice whatsoever. And also, if you guys can, please smash the like button if you want to see more videos like this. It not only benefits me, it benefits the entire Tesla community as a whole. And the last thing is, if you guys can, please check out the Webull link down below and in the description. If you sign up for Webull, the link down below, and deposit any amount of money into the account, you're guaranteed up to 12 free stocks, each worth up to $2,000. And the best part is, any could be a free Tesla share. It's a limited time offer. The offer ends in just 2 days, so check it out before they run out. This is your last chance. With that out of the way, let's get on with the video. Tesla is up 8.08% for the day. We finally got a nice bounce, and this thing is starting to show some strength. However, I do have to note something important. That's the fact that we have very important data coming out in a couple of days. That's going to really dictate how Tesla moves from a technical standpoint. All right, Tesla's looking pretty nice. It looks pretty strong. It looks like it wants to continue going after being so oversold. But I can't really say too much about this after Friday, because you have to remember the data is coming out. It's going to really affect Tesla. So what is the data? Let's first talk about that before I get into more details about the more shorter term. The data that's coming out is going to be Tesla's annual deliveries and production report. And you have to remember that Tesla needs to sell over 1.4 million EVs across the globe in 2022 to achieve their goal of 50% growth year over year. And if Tesla meets these expectations, at least from the production end, it's going to be amazing. The share price could actually soar. But if they miss on just like one of these expectations, whether it's like deliveries, then it's going to be a little bit more difficult for it to soar, but it really depends on how close they are, right? That's going to be very important too. Now, looking at this, it's important to note that most of their sales do come from overseas. And right now in China, things are not the best, which is why many analysts are not expecting Tesla to meet the delivery expectations. But who knows, they could actually surprise us, right? And that's going to be very amazing for the company. Now, it's also important to note that with the data coming out very, very soon, there's some new expectations for the fourth quarter. Wall Street made another adjustment where they are expecting Tesla to deliver about 425,000 units in the fourth quarter. That's according to FactSet. So I'm hoping that that ends up being the case. But in my opinion, I believe that these lower expectations are not the best of things for Tesla, but we can't really say much until the data actually comes out. Now, regardless of what happens, Elon Musk does have something important for everyone to remember. He actually told his employees today in an email that Tesla will be the most valuable company on the planet. That's incredible, incredible news to see his confidence and to finally see Elon Musk making some headlines involving something he said about Tesla. And I find that incredible. I applaud Elon Musk for that. We really needed him to say something, and he actually came out finally and said something good about Tesla, something that could actually help the share price to some degree. So I honestly agree with the claim he's trying to make right here. And I do believe Tesla has the potential to become the most valuable company on the planet. If you look at what they're working on, from their AI technology to full self-driving beta to the new models that are coming out to Tesla Energy and all these very bullish catalysts, I'm still very, very bullish. Now, Elon Musk also had a conversation with the Optimist Twitter. I found that pretty comical. What's very interesting is he is starting to show some more engagement into Tesla. So that's a great thing for us Tesla investors. He has not left us. He has not lost faith in the company, and we should not lose faith in him. I'm still very confident in Elon Musk's abilities, but like I said in my previous videos, I would prefer if he did actually focus a little bit more on Tesla and less on Twitter, in a way where he does not just solely tweet about like spontaneous things or things like that. But that's completely fine to some degree. I just wish that he would tweet a little bit more about Tesla going forward, and so far he's starting to tweet a little bit more, so that's a good sign. Now, regardless of Elon Musk and what else is going on, what do I see happening to Tesla for the short term? I just want to note that there's not really too much important economic data coming out for tomorrow. And you have to remember the market's going to be closed on Monday again. We have another short week ahead of us. This is because of the new year. And I know the year just flies so quickly. It's already almost 2023. I just remember this year starting, 2022 starting, it's already over. So very, very amazing to see the year pass by so quickly. And in commemorance of the new year, the market's going to be closed on Monday. So tomorrow is going to be the last trading day of the year until Tuesday when the market reopens for 2023. There's not going to be too much important economic data coming out, maybe like nothing too big, which is why I don't expect way too much from the markets. Tesla had a relatively low price pairs ratio. This means that it was very, very weak, completely underperforming, and it's finally seeing a bounce right here. As of yesterday, it got the small bounce, and it's starting to outperform the markets. That's a good sign that buyers are stepping in. We're actually seeing a lot of buyers come in. They're becoming more and more excited about Tesla. And we actually got another positive rating from Morgan Stanley on Tesla. So that's also very, very good to see. More buyers, more institutions are putting their eyes on Tesla, watching this thing soar to the moon. And if it does continue to push, remember it was heavily shorted, especially because of the short interest. Let me just show this to you real quick. The short interest has been relatively high, the highest we've seen in a very long time over the last couple of months. That's a good sign because now with all this shorting, many of these shorts will have to start covering if we start to see Tesla push to the upside even more. And that's very likely to happen. But it's going to depend as well on the data that comes out. So the last thing I wanted to mention is the fact that right here, Tesla tends to be green about 48% of the time on Fridays. So even though historically it's not going to be that strong, I don't expect it to necessarily perform bad, especially because it's going to be the last day of the year. So I'm hoping for Tesla to get a nice continuation. So what do I see in the markets? Let me first mention a couple of things about SPY and other things, and I'm going to get on with Tesla. Just give me a couple of minutes. So on SPY, I mentioned the possibilities of a potential bounce. I wasn't sure where we would bounce at. Okay, I thought we could just bounce from where we were. That is what ended up happening. But I also mentioned that we could come down to like 374 and then bounce. We ended up bouncing even at a better state than expected, especially after the jobless claims data came out. It actually met expectations, which is a good sign for the markets because now the labor force in America is starting to show some weakness. We're starting to show signs of unemployment starting to go up. Is it going up like crazy right now? No, but it's starting to show some signs. All right, so that's a good, good, good thing for the markets, at least for the longer term. Now, what am I seeing right here? Tesla actually, I'm not Tesla, SPY actually broke above this gap resistance. That's at about this 383.38 level. That's a good sign because now it's starting to fill this gap, and we should actually fill this gap very soon. Now, I'm not as confident about tomorrow. I think SPY could be kind of sideways, but I do expect that over the next week, this thing slowly pushes up to the zone I mentioned previously, and that's very close to this 390 level, which is where the 20 moving average happens to be. And we are notorious for retesting that zone quite often. So I'm going to be watching this. I do believe SPY is going to have a bullish continuation going into next week. And I do believe this could actually help the market push up one last time. Now, what else is worth noting is when you look at the dollar index, it's coming down just as I had mentioned previously. It still is kind of chopping back and forth in this zone, but remember, it's going to bounce in the future. I would say within a week and a half, this thing should start bouncing and the market is going to start coming down a little bit later. So we have some time left for the market to hold up and push up, but later on, this thing is going to start taking off. So please be very ready for the big drop to come in the markets later on. The VIX is coming down again. Once again, it still is in this very, very low zone, and it's actually very close to its demand zone between this 19 to 20 level. Could we come down and retest 20? It is still very possible. Maybe come a little lower, but like I said before, eventually this VIX is going to start popping. I would say by the second week of 2023, it should. That's when I expect more downside in the markets. The 10-year treasury yield is also starting to come down a bit. We also have a gap down here. So I'm not sure if we're going to get stopped like right here at this resistance, or by resistance I mean support, or if we're going to come down to fill these gaps, maybe one of them, maybe the second one, who knows. But if it does come down a little bit more, that could be a bullish sign for the markets temporarily, right? Very temporarily. So, like I mentioned, just to clarify, I anticipate SPY to push up for maybe another week. We could actually retest 390. Maybe that you could call this a mini Santa rally. I wouldn't even call this a real Santa rally. It's very minor. And then after that, I expect a big drop by the second week of January, maybe even a little bit earlier, but relatively soon. For the QQQ, very similar trend. The QQQ is starting to bounce after the crazy selling off that it was getting, being driven by Tesla and also Apple. And I do expect there to be a nice continuation on this as time progresses. Now, finally, on Apple, just real quick. Apple's a little bit green, got a nice bounce. I mentioned in one of my videos, Apple could bounce off either 125 or 121. We bounced off 125, nice sign. I hope for a nice continuation to the upside, at least just temporarily, for a nice uptrend. Now, for Tesla, what the heck is going on with the stock? If you look at it, there are two things you have to remember. There's a bullish and bearish possibility. We always need to be prepared for those. So I'm going to quickly just mention that. Then I'm going to break down what I believe is likely to happen. So I honestly, guys, it's going to be very hard for me to predict 2023, the start of 2023. So that's going to be Tuesday of next week when the market opens. It's going to be very hard for me to predict it right now because it's going to depend on the data that comes out. So until then, I could actually predict what might happen temporarily. I don't expect too much, but here are the zones to watch for. Tesla has this supply zone up here, and there's a demand zone right here. We have support down here around this 118 to about 117-ish level. If Tesla comes down, okay, and it goes to this zone right here, this like 117, 116 level, if it breaks below this, if there's hypothetically some bad piece of news, all right, if it breaks this, be very careful because there's this big gap here. We know Tesla likes to fill those gaps pretty fast. It could come tumbling down if it breaks this zone. If Tesla, however, continues to push up, first we have to break past 123.57, maybe very close to 124. We're going to end up retesting this resistance zone. That's between 125 and 126.27, or give or take somewhere around there. If this thing breaks 126 tomorrow, or maybe even in like the near term future, maybe data comes out, it's very good, Tesla kills it with their deliveries and production, for example. If this thing breaks this, it has potential to fly to 130. And if it breaks 130, then we have 136, 142, and we have a lot of gaps to the upside. There's actually a gap around like 137 to watch for. So it has a lot of potential for upside. But first, we have to break this resistance zone. All right, so that's what I'm going to be watching for tomorrow to see how it performs. What I believe is going to happen is it's going to stay in this range for a lot of the day. I would expect Tesla, if it does come down a little bit, it should bounce off like 118-ish, maybe start pushing up a little more. And because we saw lots of buyers come in, because the market's doing pretty all right in this level, I'm hoping that the market continues to hold up the zones it's in, and Tesla should outperform the market again. As long as it does not break below 116-ish, 116 to 117, as long as it does not break below this zone, as long as that doesn't happen, it has potential to continue pushing up. All right, so remember these zones. What do I believe is going to happen? I believe Tesla is going to continue to push up. Eventually, it'll trade sideways, then continue to push up, retest 123.57, but it might actually break that zone. We might see Tesla start to test 125 to about 126.5 ish, somewhere around there. And I'm not sure if we're going to actually break it immediately because it is going to be a Friday. I know Fridays tend to not have the best of volumes, but there is a good chance this thing could actually try to break it. If it does break this level, you see this thing hitting like 127, it could get very close to 130. It could most definitely happen. And I think it's most likely going to either do that or just start retesting this resistance between 125 and 126. I could see Tesla do that quite easily. Now, please remember, it also depends on the news. If unexpected pieces of news come out, then the opposite could also happen. But I'm still more bullish than bearish for Tesla for the rest of this year. Now, for the start of 2023, I can't really say much. We're going to have to see the data first. If Tesla does well on deliveries and production, if Tesla meets expectations and they even surprise everyone and actually kill it, there's a good chance this thing will continue to push up. But we have to see the data first because there are these gaps down here. It is likely going to come down to these levels again in the future. So we still have to be very, very cautious regardless of that. For the overall market, I do not expect it to remain bullish forever. I expect it to potentially maybe remain bullish for another week or so, but then I do see a big rejection coming and I do see SPY crashing by the second week of January to start that point on. I believe there's going to be a big crash coming soon. Before the crash comes, there should be a rally going into like the first week of January, and then we should get a big rejection. Shorts should pile back in, then a big rejection should come maybe around 390 or so. So be very careful in this market, guys. Be very careful if you're playing the upside. A lot of volatility is yet to come. For Tesla, like I said before, I'm expecting it to test this zone right here. I mean, we could break it. I'm hoping we do. If it does break it, there's going to be even more bullish potential. So for tomorrow, I'm more bullish than bearish. And for the longer term future, it depends on data and other things like that. Thank you all so much for listening. Please have an absolutely incredible rest of the day. Remain calm, cool, and collected. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Tesla to the moon because the long term future is still incredibly bright. And peace out.